Welcome to Coach's Corner with Coach Eric Strothers.
Welcome to this special edition of Coach's Corner with Eric Strothers. We are broadcasting from the beautiful studios of Alabama A&M's television station. So glad that they allowed us on campus for this special show. And we have a special guest, Mr. Strothers.
Yes, I just want to introduce Coach, the head coach of Wiley, Joseph Flegler, his first year coach at Wiley. Coach, I just want to say I'm happy to have you on my show today, and I just want you to tell us a little bit, the listeners a little bit about yourself and where you from.
Sure. First of all, thank you for having me. I'm originally from Washington, D.C. I've been extremely fortunate throughout my journey as a player, as a coach, to be around great leaders who demonstrated exactly what it takes to be a quality young man. I've had great experiences in life, both good and bad. It just helped me cultivate just a healthy perspective of life. And then also, just meeting great people to help me kind of cultivate who I am. So, through my journey, I just hope I continue to have those type of experiences.
Okay. Well, Tim, let the listeners know where you played at and that kind of thing, your background and where you played at.
Sure. Played at Savannah State. Well, I started out, my first year was at community college called College of Southern Maryland. Had some success there and garnered a scholarship to Savannah State University, where I played for probably one of the most pivotal influences in my life. Horace Broadnex did an outstanding job of just pouring into me. After that, I had a cup of coffee playing professionally in a few places, and then I got a call from a former assistant coach at Savannah State and asked me, did I want to start coaching? I said, absolutely not. I'm a player. I'm not a coach.
Right.
Then he called me back and said, hey, I'll pay for your master's. Then I said, hey, man, now it's time to make a grown man decision.
Right.
So, I started coaching, and the rest is history.
Well, Coach, we knew each other before we got to this point.
Right.
And I was a coach at Jackson State where you was a player at Savannah State. And your coaches always would call me and say, Coach, let's play. And I did not like to play Savannah State because they played this unique style, man, of basketball. Now you bring it to this conference. And, man, I'll tell you, one of the teams that I hate to play is your team. When you play this matchup zone, man, just give me fits, man. And back then, I think we was at a tournament up in Chicago where I saw you play, and I was coaching at the time. So I think I got ties with most of every coach that's in the GCAC.
Absolutely.
And I just wanted the listener to know you did an outstanding job as a first-year coach. And tell your team was right there, man. You would, just a couple points here and there. And we had some great games this year. We had some really good games. Could you tell us a little bit more about your year from last year and then what you bringing in again for next year?
Yeah, I was fortunate. Sometimes when you get a new opportunity, it comes down to two things. One is a demolition and reconstruction project. The other situation is usually just restoration. Wiley College has a tremendous amount of tradition when it comes to academics and athletics. We're here at Alabama, and we run the charter members of the SWAC. So, you work for a guy, Coach Payne, who did an outstanding job at Wiley. So, I didn't really have to. It was a restoration project. Just try to get the right guys in there. And, it took some figuring out. We had the speed date, but eventually we got to a point where we got on the same page. And, I think, I was tasked to bring, infuse the program with character. Not saying that anybody else did prior to me, but that was what I was tasked to do. And we had some measurable success. This was the first time in 9 years the men's basketball program finished over 3.0. And also, this was the most wins. Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that. And this was the most wins we've had in 5 years, and the first time we finished over 500 in 5 years. So, we had some measurable success, but now I'm just trying to continue that. As far as next year, I try to bring in guys that's close to my baseline. I try to, be a process-driven person. And try not to put too much pressure on student athletes when they walk through the door. My main concern is, hey, let's try to maximize the opportunity every day. And if you do that, it'll take care of itself. So I think I got some guys coming in that's going to do that.
Coach, how did you feel about being moved into the GCAC?
Well, when I got here, that's a great question. So when I took the job, we were basically in the GCAC. I never coached in the Red River. me personally, I think it was, it made a tremendous amount of sense, obviously because of us being a historically black college university. But also, I've been in a few conferences in my my journey in coaching. I want to give Dr. Barnes an outstanding, and I think she's doing an outstanding job. She's very
Commissioner
personable.
Kiki.
Yes,
For those who are watching who may not know.
I apologize. Yes.
No, you're fine.
She's done an outstanding job. I think the purpose of a conference is to, one, to elevate the member institutions that's there, and then two, the experience for the student athletes. And I think she checked both boxes. She's doing everything she can to try to elevate the brand of all the member institutions, and also, we've had a quality experience going through the GCAC. I mean, between our pod play, between our conference tournament, everything's been quality. So I appreciate it. And
I'm gonna be a little tough on you.
Right.
But it's candid and
Right.
it's frank and it's real.
I appreciate that.
No one's heard of the GCAC,
Right.
really. I hadn't heard of the GCAC until last year.
Right.
So what are these schools doing, particularly the basketball team, to put you guys out there so that people do know about the GCAC?
Well, I think, it's a process. It's some things that might be systemic that comes to that. I try not to be too forward when I don't know all the information, so I can't speak to exactly what that systemic stuff is. But I think that, with us, obviously, getting our channel, the HBCU Plus, trying to get that channel, trying to broadcast all the events. I think the social media work that the GCAC is doing. I think the leg work that Dr. Barnes is doing and just trying to elevate our conference. I think she's taking the necessary steps, and then now it's just about, trying to win at a high level. And once you win, I mean, it illuminate the conference.
But what are you guys doing individually?
Well, we communicating with each other, and I talk to Coach. He called me, I call him, and we just talk about elevating our conference. What Tuglu had done this year for our conference was big for our conference, and what we talked about is getting 3 teams into the national tournament, and it's a couple things that we got to do. We got to get more teams in, we got to get better players, and we got to highlight our conference. What we doing now, we talking about our conference, we highlighting. And Kiki Barnes, the commission, she's doing a great job of getting us out there, putting us out front. And I love what she's doing for our conference. She's doing a really, really good job. And just the coaches, with the camaraderie that we have as coaches. Now, when it's game day, it's game day. We're gonna battle. But once it's over with, we get together, we pray together, and then we friends again. So that's what we're doing for this conference. We trying to move this conference forward. And Coach is doing a great job in helping this conference move forward.
Yeah, and Coach Strothers told me the reason why he wanted to do these shows here is because he wanted to really highlight historically black colleges and universities. Mm-hmm. I'm a graduate of 2. I know you understand it. How important is it for people to realize that HBCUs make a huge difference academically, in our community, as well as in athletics?
Well, obviously, I grew up in Washington, D.C., and during the course of growing up, you learn to appreciate history. Historically black colleges and universities are relics. I mean, you can't tell a story of the United States of America without the people that matriculate through these. I mean, how do you tell a story of United States of America without Thurgood Marshall, without, Dr. Martin Luther King? It's funny, we just had Juneteenth, it was a few days ago, and during our 160th anniversary, we had a lady by the name of Oprah Lee come speak to come speak to us. And for those who don't know Oprah Lee, in 2016, she walked 1,400 miles from Fort Worth, Texas, to Washington, D.C. campaigning for Juneteenth. She's a graduate of Wiley College. We need to do everything we can to preserve these places, because just like you would preserve the Thomas Jefferson Memorial, it's the same thing to me. The significance to not only society, but also the people that it provided a platform for.
Okay, so I want to talk about this because you look extremely young. Okay,
Thank you.
You've aged well, right? And so you're coaching guys who look as if they're as old as you, but they're not.
Right.
How difficult is it as a head coach to gain their trust?
It's not, to be honest. I try to study leadership. I'm actually reading 2 books right now to try to help me in that space. One is The Coaching's Guide to Teaching, and then the other one is 21 Laws of Leadership. I think it's important that I try to continue to work on myself in regards to leadership, and if I do that, I can look a man in the eyes and he'll follow.
You said when you took the job, I believe I read that you want to mold the men that you're dealing with.
Right.
How do you do that, and what exactly are you trying to mold them into?
Well, I preach trying to be intentional about your processes when it comes to what's next. A lot of times we parrot graduation, which is, obviously that's the end game, but to me that's just the starting point.
Oh yeah.
Life really starts to hit you once you graduate. So I try to mold them by helping them figure out, okay, what is the path that you want to take to be successful. And I try to be intentional about that in our program. So I want to mold them into, guys that have high character. And if I was to say what is character, to me, it's just having integrity when it comes to your process. Just trying to attack the day every day with honor and decency. And if you do that, then, I think you'll end up being a solid man.
Someone who has integrity looks like?
It could look like anybody. Can you kind of unpack that for me?
Yeah. So when I think integrity, I think someone that I can trust.
Right.
I think someone that's not going to fib, as we say down south. Mm-hmm. I think it means someone who will stand up, whether it's right or wrong, and whether it's popular or not.
Right.
So when you say integrity, what does it look like to you? And who is an example of someone who has stellar integrity?
Well, I could tell you, to me, first to answer your question, obviously somebody you can trust, but somebody that has discipline. Somebody that has, okay, you have goals. Okay, these are the steps that you need to take to get to your goals. If you pursue these steps daily, usually you'll meet your goal. If you pursue these specific steps. Somebody in particular is a young man that I coach. His name is Demarius Houston. I told, at our sports banquet, I said, I believe in mythological creatures. This kid is, he's one of the best kids I've ever been around, man. 4.0 student. Never missed a day, wasn't in the gym. I sat down and had a conversation with him one time. I said, hey, man, how you get a 4.0? Just in jest. And he said, Coach, I just do what I'm supposed to do. And at the end of the day, man, that's character. Just do what you're supposed to do. Yes. Everything else will figure itself out. I rarely talk about wins and losses. If you do what you're supposed to do, if you discipline, it's going to figure itself out. Yeah. But the problem with us in life sometimes is we don't do what we're supposed to do, but we want a certain end game. It don't work like that. Mm-hmm. So to me, that's character.
What's next for you?
That's a great question. I say the end game, I don't look at a job as an end game. I look at a purpose as an end game. Mm-hmm. And I think I found my purpose. And like I said, man, it's just, trying to help out guys that I've been in that space. I've made mistakes. And I've learned from it. And for me, it's about right now just being a tour guide. And that is, hey, I've been where you all want to go. So let me try to help you get there as best as possible. And if you can get there, my job is done.
So I want to talk about this because you mentioned purpose. Right. And I had someone to tell me once, and it's my mantra when I speak to kids. You tell me what your purpose is, but what is your passion? Because I believe that when your purpose and your passion collide, that therein is your calling.
Right. Well, my passion initially when I got into this was player development. I like to work on your game and work on, the basketball skill aspect. But that kind of shifted. Now my passion is holistic development.
Come on.
I want to try to develop you in all areas because I have a clear idea of what happens if you don't develop. If you don't develop in life, man, this is a competitive world. And you are setting yourself up for failure. If you don't equip yourself, man, hey, man, what book are you reading? How are you pouring into yourself so that you can evolve? The way life is set up now is it's like a phone. 6 months. You got 6 months till the new one come out.
Yeah.
So, I try to pour into myself so I can pour into these student athletes and hopefully some reciprocity with that.
Yeah. Well, Coach, I just want to take time. I know you was in a very serious accident before the season started. And, man, I take my hat off to you to be in that kind of accident and still be able to get your team ready to play at a high level, man. How did you do that?
Can I ask one question before that?
Okay.
Can you tell me about the accident? Because I'm not aware.
Okay.
So we had practice. It was 5 o'clock in the morning. I was sitting at practice. I was at a light. It was an 18-wheeler. that was about to make a left turn. His light turned red, my light turned green. I drove out. He basically came across the front of my car. I woke up in the hospital with my wife, and the police officer said I was probably 2 seconds from not being here. That was probably 2 weeks before the season started. So I had to make a decision. I had a volunteer assistant that he was good. You know, he did everything he can, but we actually didn't have a women's coach at that time because our women's coach had actually passed away. So he had to kind of assume the responsibilities of the women's team, and I really had nobody to handle the team. So, you know, in hindsight, I probably should have did a few more things medically, but I said, hey, man, this is an opportunity. If I could walk, let's figure it out. So, I mean, it was tough. You know, physically, I had to, you know, try to endure some things. You know, I was in a wheelchair for the first couple days. I was on crutches. But, I mean, God gave me the strength, man. And, you know, anytime I get an opportunity, I've learned, man, hey, let's maximize it. Can I walk? Okay. Can I practice? They got film of me in practice on the crutches going crazy. But, I mean, God gave me the strength. And then ultimately, man, my wife, you know, she did a lot of things for me to just try to help me get through that process. That was extremely tough time for her. You know, people don't understand the trauma that's associated with, hey, are you going to make it back in tonight? You know, that's a real thing. And, you know, her enduring that, you know, and working with me and, you know, the institution working with me, making sure I had everything I can to try to, you know, work through the injury, man. I'm extremely grateful for President Felton and the opportunity that he's gave me, man. I'm going to give him everything I got.
Okay, two things before we wrap this up. First is, I hear you talk about God a lot.
Right.
Can I say that you're spiritual instead of religious? And did the accident take you to that point, or were you spiritual before?
Oh, nah, that's my foundation, man. I grew up in the church. Vermont Avenue Baptist Church. You know, I started out in the church, always been rooted in church. My mother and my family has done a great job of keeping that foundation in me, and well, giving me that foundation. And by way of that, you know, I've always taken out everything I've done. I think the accident, what it made me do is try to grab a hold of life a little bit harder. You know, I always believe in God. I never question what he does. I know everything has a purpose, but it gives you a sense of urgency. And I have that sense of urgency more than ever.
I like you, and I like you because of your spiritual foundation. It shows, the anointing glows.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
But before I let you go, it's time for my favorite part of the show, which is Ask Coach Strothers. And you get to ask him anything that you ever wanted to ask him.
So I really value mentorship, because I think, you know, that's probably the most important thing that you can have, somebody that's been through it. Man, you have, you know, 20 plus years of coaching experience. If you were coaching, if you went back to 35-year-old you, what would you say?
Well, yeah, I got over 30 years now.
Pardon me.
Yeah.
No disrespect.
30 years, no. 30 years of experience.
Hey, look. Hey, people wonder why Tougaloo's so good. I say, man, they got 60 years of coaching. Man, you don't stand a chance.
Phillips with 47.
Yeah, you don't stand a chance.
Okay. But Coach, I'm gonna tell you, man, if I could go back, I would cherish my relationships a little better with coaches, with people I met. I would establish a better relationship with them. And I tell younger coaches and younger people now, value a relationship with whoever you have. Because if I was younger, I'd go back. Because all those young coaches that I met, if I had a relationship, all those guys got jobs, got good jobs, and they could help me on my way. But God put me here for a purpose.
Absolutely.
And my purpose here is trying to help young guys like you. I can say that, and other guys that's coming up under me, and I just like being here at the GCAC, man. And I'm really happy in my place right now. But before we go, I just want to give a shout out to Andre Payne. That was the head coach.
I call him the GOAT.
At Wiley, he was the head coach. When he hired me at Valley, man, he didn't even know me. And he hired me in Valley just because of the relationships I had with people that knew him. And he didn't even know me. So, you know, that's wild for him to hire me and didn't know me. He met me one time. We ate, and before he could get 30 minutes down the highway, he hired me.
Right.
So, you know, Coach Payne brought me to Valley. And he showed me a lot of things, you know, and he came with those big rings from Wiley. He had worn a big ring from Wiley. But Coach Payne, I just want you to know, I'm in A&M, and I'm on the hill. I'm on the hill. So I'm just letting you know I'm in your town. Come see me.
Yeah.
All right?
All right. From the beautiful campus of Alabama A&M, I'm Katina Rankin.
I'm Eric Strothers, and wait till you see who I have next on my Coach's Corner.